Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I'm Harry.
And I'm Matthew, and the car behind us today, well, as we've learned, we missed out on the facelifted version, but instead we were gifted with the second generation car. Yes, it is the new MG HS.
It is a new generation and it is quite a good one at that. Come on, let's have a look at this.
Here in New Zealand, we missed out on the first generation facelift HS. And instead what we have here today is the second generation car. Now, because of that bridge in the generations, the fascia actually looks very different on this car compared to the outgoing model. But stick with me because they have changed it for the better, and MG certainly like to call it an eye-catching design as well. So at the front, the big changes firstly have been in terms of that grille. If you remember, it used to have a massive MG badge plonked on the middle there. That's been shrunk a little bit, moved up top here. And this grille is now completely gloss black plastic. It still has a bit of a design to it, but it misses out on those, if you like, diamond grille that the previous generation model had. The other big change up front here has been in terms of the headlight. So you can see completely different shape there. Of course, LED, SAIC vision as well. And that basically changes the front of the car a lot more in terms of the design and the way it focuses on this nose over here. Again, the lines, everything, all new on the second generation car. So big change from the side of the car is, of course, the platform. So it's now with a longer wheelbase sitting at around about 2765 millimeters. The width is now increased as well to 1899 millimeters. And then you've got the length of the car in actuality, which is now about 4655 millimeters. So dimensionally, it is a much larger, well, not a much larger car, but large enough to make a pretty significant difference on the inside. But I'll let Harry cover that in a minute. The other thing is this color is the black pearl metallic that MG offer. And as you can see, it looks pretty good in this light as well. Not too dark of a black, but at the same time, just enough to show the new lines and things that they've worked on with this car. Now this is the top of the range model, the Essence, and so we have the big sort of diamond cut wheels, if you like, and they are actually 19s all around in Bridgestone rubber as well on our review model here. And as you move further down, you can see that they've accented the lines with piano black plastic elements and then faux carbon fiber as well down the bottom. So they've tried to, with this top of the line model, make it identifiable from the outside and add a few bits and pieces here to change things up as well. The other thing to note is that, of course, the design, the styling, it's all new. It's completely different. And actually, this car is a lot more angular in its look than the previous outgoing car as well. So very distinct in all aspects there. As much as significant as the design change has been at the front of the car and along the sides, it's very much the same at the back here. So you can see the MG logo, the new LED light strip going across, the cheeky little HS badge sitting over there. But it doesn't say anything about the trim line. You have to sort of assess that based on the spec of the car. As part of this Essence package, you also get privacy glass all around the back windows, and it is quite tinted as well, which helps with, well, privacy. Open up the boot, and underneath you get 507 liters of boot space. I did say the car is bigger generally, especially on the inside. And if you fold the seats down, you get something like 1,484 liters of space for your cargo. So they have really upgraded the practicality, and it's essentially user friendliness for the families and the people that are going to buy a car like this. Now, under the bonnet of the new generation HS, it's actually all the same across the line. So whether you have the Vibe, the Essence, or the Excite, they all get the same powertrain essentially. We have the Essence here still. And the 1.5 liter turbocharged engine here produces 125 kilowatts, 275 newton meters of torque, and that gives you a 0 to 100 time of around about 9.6 seconds. So plenty of power to do the job of moving this SUV, but without adding a sporty or an X power, if you like, element to it. Efficiency wise, we've been getting in the 7s in terms of liters per 100 kilometers, so it's not too shabby from that side as well. Anyway, enough with the numbers. Harry's on the inside and he's going to talk you through all of the new technology improvements there.
And the same big transformation that you see on the outside of the HS happens on the inside as well. Those that are familiar with the previous HS or many other cars of the MG brand will find a few familiar pieces and bits and bobs around the car, such as a few buttons that you interact with or a few textures around the car. There is a lot that is new. This sort of dual texture that they apply to the dashboard here is a very welcome addition that now has the stitching that goes from one side to the other. We have here on the center console a very interesting set of solutions for both the storage and connectivity, with a dual cup holder at the beginning in here with two USB-A ports that we will talk about a little bit further. And then the gear selector assembly that is a very traditional setup that reminds us of a few different brands out there in the market. And then buttons for your auto hold and electric parking brake and even hill descent assist. And then, considering that we are on the range topper in here, there is quite a bit more stuff that we get. There is a lot of value being added into going with the range topper, because you get this lovely sunroof here that adds a lot of light into the interior. You get this wireless charging pad, a premium sound system that is quite good, and a few other things that we will cover later. If you keep coming back here, then you will see an adequate sized storage box for you. And then we keep covering other parts of the interior, because these seats, MG seats, used to be a little bit of a sore spot, quite literally, for me in the past. And I'm very happy to confirm that they have changed this entirely. The previous HS seats always used to get me quite on the lower back, and these is fixed now, very much so. And even these ones on the range topper, they are heated seats. But looking back here to the front, there are a few things, again, that are very familiar that we will cover with the steering wheel, namely in the buttons that they use and the joystick that you use to interact with a few certain functions. But one of the big things that is quite new to this new generation is now the fact that you get this integrated sort of one big screen solution for both the screen that you see in the middle of the dashboard and the instrument cluster. So come on, Lynn, let's have a look at them. All right, so tech. With this integrated view in here, we get this 12.3-inch screen that is in front of the dashboard, and it is very familiar to MG. It has this initial view in here where you have the apps that you will use most often, with climate, your music, navigation, and yes, the car does have inbuilt navigation in this spec. If you go into climate, you will then be able to access a few other solutions for the climate control, including the heated seats. So yes, it is hidden behind a little bit of menu jumping. And then also the dual climate control, which is only available in this specification. You can always go back to the screens by using either this home button or this home here. That is always available, so there is a little bit of redundancy. And then if you go to the side, you then get to access more of the apps that the car can make available to you. You have navigation, your ability to go through Bluetooth music or radio, and then also the 360 camera that, even though you cannot flick it around, it is very useful and responsive to put the car where you want it to be. I even put this associated to one of the favorites on the steering wheel using this button in here. It's really handy when you come close to a parking spot. You can set both favorite buttons to control different settings of the car, that you will also use this settings menu in here to customize. And there are a few other things that you can also customize if you keep going forward. And then one of the things that I did use, and I would really like to cover this in a little bit more detail, is actually using the car in dark mode all the time. I really think that it elevates the experience of the whole visuals here, making them look a little bit more premium. And especially at night, they reduce the glare by quite a bit, because the bright one is very, very bright. You can also associate that with the automatic lights, of course, but then with the customization as well, if I can get it to go to the vehicle side of things, there will be then things that you can do to customize a little bit about the driving experience, because it's not like the car has driving modes per se. It's more about the steering, that you can go from comfort to sport, and a few other things about the cluster as well. And this is quite cool, because I have used the map view in here that pretty much replicates the inbuilt satellite navigation in the screen in front of the driver, but you can also go to one that purely just shows engine information, such as your speed and how many revs you're doing, or if you want to go to your assistance driving, that'll show the car in here and work with all the other ADAS systems that the car has, and it has a bunch. It has automatic emergency braking, adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, blind spot monitoring, so it has the whole suite. And then by using this cluster immersion mode, it removes all the distractions from the side. You can see it is a very, very clean view, so you can make it very relaxing if you want to do so. There is not a lot of other customization that you can do apart from these things in here. After all, MG has always been more focused on the other bits, more so than the technology itself, and it really shows with the USB part that I talked about earlier. When I picked up this car, I wanted to use my phone projection as I usually do, and I was expecting wireless projection, although I didn't find any, because both CarPlay and Android Auto, they can only be used with a wire, so with an actual cable. It's all fun and games. I went there and I picked up my USB-C cable, only to then find that the car only has 4 USB-A ports. So just know that if you're going to get into the car and you really use your phone projection like I do, you might as well bring your USB-A cable and then focus on the other things that the MG does quite well, namely in regards to the driving. So I think it's about time that we oblige and we go on a short drive.
So I think we've gone through many of the differences with the new HS already, both inside and outside, and there is a considerable amount of them. One of the key ones being that beeping noise there, which is MG's pilot system, which is their safety suite, has been upgraded and has become, how do I say, a lot more active, I think, in terms of its intervention, in terms of its warnings for the driver. And one of the key areas is the speed limit. So even if you go, I think I've noticed 1 or 2 kilometers over the speed limit, it'll start beeping away at you. The other one, which I'm surprised it's not come up yet because Harry has been looking all over the place, is the actual driver, sort of the attention warning system, which is mounted on the pillar over there. And that essentially keeps an eye on the driver to see if the driver is watching the road ahead. And I noticed earlier when I was driving this HS that if I looked out to the side of the road, even to check my mirrors in some instances, it beeped at me telling me to focus on the road in front. So they have really heightened that sense of warnings and the safety suite's intervention, if you like, in driving.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And being the auto journalists that we are, we tried fooling the system a little bit, and it looks like it is straight looking at your eyeballs. I tried moving my eyeballs by keeping my head straight ahead. It still will pop up those warnings, so it is keeping very close tabs at what you're doing, where you're looking, trying to make sure that you are keeping your eyes on the road and not at the all the screens and the buttons and all the stuff that's happening. And, well, let's be honest, your phone as well. So yeah, all for the better.
And I even tried to put my hand over the sensor there, and it actually comes up with a warning saying sensor blocked, please remove obstruction and whatever. So they have thought about all those areas where people might try and game the system, if you like. Apart from that, which can be annoying at times, actually the interior is a very nice place to be, and I think we've both been pleasantly surprised by how quiet it is, how comfortable it is in here. Whether it be a slightly rougher surface like this, or even the motorways with the wind noise, all of that stuff, they've actually increased the damping a lot. You've got what certainly feels like more noise absorbing materials and stuff like that, MVH going on in here, to make for a much quieter, much nicer place to be on the inside.
Yeah, I think that to me, this is sort of the bottom line of the whole thing. It is a much, much better place to be than the previous one. It is improved in all the things that will make your daily usage of this car better. So it's more comfortable, it's more approachable, the powertrain is so smooth, the tech now gets most of the things sorted. Yes, you do have a little bit to do with the big brother watching you here all the time, but it does so many things right.
The other big thing I have noticed is, Harry said the powertrain is so smooth, and you've got well, MG have actually gone for a dual clutch system here, a 7-speed one, when at a time other manufacturers are actually shying away and moving from dual clutches to automatic gearboxes. MG have stuck, or rather implemented, this dual clutch system, and I've been really surprised by actually how smooth it is once you get the car moving. Even the creep function in traffic is pretty good.
Yeah.
It is a very impressive system, actually.
Yeah. So, well, let's be honest. The whole downsizing thing with 4 poppers everywhere with the turbochargers sort of steals a little bit of the character and makes for not a super pleasant engine to lean on, especially because the numbers are not crazy anyway. But the dual clutch adds a little bit of that character back. And I think that it adds just a little bit of engagement. Yes, there are no pedal shifters. You can only use the manual in here. That doesn't actually do a lot of engine braking. But just because you get that character of the dual clutch, it makes it better than a CVT or a regular automatic. So MG is always sort of taking care and being aware of the driving dynamics. And this is one way of doing that even on a family SUV.
And while it's I guess not a patch on something like the MG4 in terms of its driving engagement, it's certainly no slouch either. And we found, it to be perfectly suited, I think, to what it will mostly do, which is city driving, which is motorways, stuff like that. But then now we've been spending quite a bit of time in this car as well. I think one of the key differences both of us have noticed with our bad backs is the lower back support. I remember once before spending, I think, about 9 or 10 hours in a day in an MG4, and the next morning my back was actually, the lower back especially, was in pain. But I cannot see that happening with this car. I think they've improved that ergonomic side of things a lot.
Ergonomics all around, right? I think that they got the ergonomics spot on with this car. After you get used to the weird joystick way of interacting with most of the systems here on the car, everything is where you think that it would be. It's very easy to just jump in and know where everything is and where everything should be. And yes, the seats, oh my god, the seats are a big improvement. I was never too happy with MG seats. This is the first one that gets it right, and it actually does get it quite right. There is plenty of adjustment, and the lumbar support is quite good, even though it is an option that is only on this range topper. And yeah, pro tip, do go for the range topper if you can justify it. There is a lot of value to be had. We mentioned some of the features that the range topper brings, and it's a lot of value for the money.
I mean, in New Zealand, in our market here, this range topping Essence model is priced at $42,990, and that is not so much more than the one that's below it, which is the Excite model. But I have to say, the amount of features that are added and the amount of luxuries as well, things like that stargazing sunroof, the heated seats, all of that stuff, electronic seats, not to mention memory for the driver as well. For $42,990, MG is delivering on that completely based on their motto of value. And it certainly delivers an exceptional amount of that.
And it doesn't feel like you are making any other compromises, because there is so much space up front, out in the back. I can easily seat behind myself. There is a good cup holder. You can split the seats 40-60 to put all stuff there in the back with no problems at all. So you get vents at the back as well, the 2 USB-A ports as we talked about before. And yeah, it doesn't feel like you are cheapening out or any measure.
That for me is the biggest difference from the previous generation HS model, especially talking about this interior, is the step up in terms of quality. The materials feel nice now, it feels well built. Even for this price, you don't feel like there's been a serious compromise as such, and certainly the quality aspect of things. And now that they've stepped up the technology and your interaction with it, it makes for a much nicer experience all around. And that, I think, will do great favors for this HS in terms of its sales. And, well, this car, they have been so excited about it that they pulled out all the stops and they unveiled it at Goodwood Festival of Speed earlier this year, which is, any of you who follow the car circuit will know that that is one of the meccas of car enthusiasm. And they did so in England in great fashion, considering that this is also MG's centenary year. So it is the right time to upgrade such a key car in their range as the HS is.
Yeah, big event for them, big milestone for them with a big release, and that's why we sent our top man to see that on the flash.
While not quite as exciting as the Cyberster, which they also showed off at the same event, this HS certainly delivers on the more practical and everyday aspects of MG life, if you like. So there you have it, the new MG HS, the second generation car is all improved, brings a fresh design, new technology, and I think a significant upgrade all around from the car that it replaces.
You said it once, I'll say it again. Yeah, it is a massive step forward on everything that the HS used to do quite well, and now a step up. So I think that we were very positively impressed with what we experienced, and I could recommend this to anyone.
And at $42,990 for the top spec model, I think it becomes very hard to overlook this when considering an SUV.
Very true.
All right, there you have it. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe to Tarmac Life. The button will be around the screen somewhere, and we'll see you on the next one.